And then in just a minute, I'll share my slide. I'm just going to give it like one more minute, see if other people join us, so that way, gives everybody a chance to settle in. My name is Avra Robinson, and I'll introduce myself again in just a second formally, but I'm an instructor with an organization called EdTechTeacher, and we provide professional development for schools all over the country. And specifically, we're based in the Boston area in Massachusetts. And this series of workshops is sponsored by the Department of Education, Elementary and Secondary Education, and sponsored by Google. And so this is the first of 6 workshops that are going to be happening over the course of the next couple of months. So, all right, it is 3:31. I'm going to go ahead and officially get started and share my slides. Let me just get my Zoom windows all kind of configured here, and then we will jump in. All righty. Let me put this up in present mode so that you can see it more easily. And once again, I'll introduce myself. My name is Avra, and I am a former classroom teacher. I'm a former technology teacher and coordinator and coach. I started out teaching 3rd grade. I moved to kindergarten, and then I spent the bulk of my career as a technology integration specialist, coordinator, whatever you want to call me. I wore many different hats at a K-8 school. I live in Northern Illinois, so I'm about 90 minutes west of O'Hare in Chicago. And so I'm in the cornfield in Illinois, and I was part of a small district. And we loved Google. So I'm excited to be here today chatting with all of you about how Google Classroom can support students. So that's kind of our focus, is looking for ways that we can give students feedback and make it easy, hopefully, for you. And so I'm going to show you maybe some tips and tricks, and we'll just kind of look at that feedback process. My goal is to show you not only, of course, what you see as the teacher, but also what your kids see. And I know sometimes Jude and I were just chatting about how it's nice to be able to see the student perspective. And so I'm hoping to share that with you today, just kind of by like swiping back and forth between 2 different desktops, where I show you a sample student with my son's name, Cameron, and then I'll be the teacher, right? And then I'm going to show just some possibilities for how we might utilize audio and video as well for giving students feedback, and how we can do it through Google Classroom. So I've always found that feedback in general, for little guys especially, and by little guys, anybody at any age level, but definitely our younger learners, our elementary kids, are going to do better when they are able to hear your voice, giving them feedback or sharing ideas with them rather than trying to read. Because even once they become readers, it's still something where, we're working on comprehension and trying to understand the steps to, changing some things in an essay or things like that. They might do better just being able to hear your voice. So we're going to look at some possibilities for that. Okay. You guys, the way that I run my sessions is I really like it when people ask questions. So I see that we're up to about 6 of you, and I'm really happy that you're here. I want you to feel really comfortable asking questions. If it's easier for you to type something in the chat, do so at any time. Don't worry about interrupting. If you would like to unmute and talk to me, I would love that. Okay. I've been doing, remote learning like this for a long time. Obviously, we all have, off and on, for the last 20 months or so. And if I get a chance to hear other people's voices, I love it. So please feel free. I know we don't know each other and it's awkward to interrupt, but do it anyway. All right. All right. So we're going to start by just talking about, like, hey, student submissions, like what are kids going to turn in Google Classroom, just to kind of level the playing field, make sure we're all talking about the same thing, right? So when we think about what our kids might be submitting to us, they might be turning in, they can turn in something that you've given to them, right? So you can create a Google Doc or a Google slideshow, or a number of items, and you can push it out to them, and then Google Classroom will make a copy for you, and then they can turn that back into you. That's one thing. Another way that they can do work in Google Classroom is actually by going in and choosing over in the Your Work section on the right hand side, and I'll do a live demo of this in just a second. They can actually hit the little add or create button, and then they can, do a variety of things on their own as well. And so this is on a computer or a Chromebook. If they're on a mobile device, they actually have the option too to take pictures pretty easily of things. So that's nice if they've got, an iPad or something like that. So I know we have a wide variety probably of devices and environments, but just trying to give you a sense of, what we're looking at here. So whenever we offer kids an opportunity to show what they know in a variety of ways. So maybe saying to them, hey, I want you to tell me 2 things that you learned and 1 thing that you're still wondering about, and letting them pick how they do it. Hey, you could go into a Google Doc and you could write it down, or you could open up a slideshow and, and make me a slideshow about it. Whenever you give them that kind of choice, it's going to actually help them. It's going to help them focus, and it's going to help lessen their anxiety. Voice and choice has been shown to actually lessen student anxiety. So be aware that, these options are available in Google Classroom, and it's really awesome when we let kids, do more than just work on the stuff that we push out to them. Okay. One of the things that sometimes folks don't use very often is a question in Google Classroom. So I don't know if anybody uses questions, but let's take a quick peek at them. Okay. So you guys, I'm just going to kind of exit out of that full screen mode. Oh, wait a second. Okay, I am. I just had a quick moment of, am I sharing my screen? I am. That's right. Sorry. I always get nervous, like you guys might just be quietly, politely wondering what the heck I'm talking about, but we're good. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to hop over into this sample Google Classroom that I have created just for our session today, and take a look at classwork. Okay, so as the teacher, I can go in and do create a question. Okay. And questions are fantastic tools for quick formative assessment, a quick, just check in with kids. And if you notice, guys, when I create an assignment, it's going to have this icon of a clipboard, whereas, the question is going to give us this question mark. So I've already started to create one just for time's sake, and I'm going to hop into it and show you kind of what it looks like. So in case you've never created a question before, you can write it here. You can also give more instructions, so you could dive deeper into kind of what you're expecting from kids if you want to, give them more instructions. And then also be aware that your questions can be either short answer or multiple choice, okay? And then look down here at the bottom right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can show you. When you're creating a question, you have the option to allow students to reply to one another and to edit their answer. So you will know, just based on the objective for your question, whether you want them to do this or not, right? So, if you're doing a quick check-in and you want to know if kids understood a concept, you may not want them replying to each other, because when they reply to each other, they can see each other's. Okay. I mean, by the nature of being able to reply to one another's responses, they can see it. If you want it to be private, you want it to be a quick check to see who knows what, and you don't necessarily want them like piggybacking off of each other, then you want to uncheck that box. However, on the flip side of that, if you want it to become more of like a discussion, maybe you're asking them what they thought about a current event, or maybe you want them to, make a prediction about what's going to happen next in the story, or what was their favorite part of last night's chapter, or something like that. And you want them to actually be able to read each other's and respond. They can do that too. And you can just click that box where it says students can reply to each other. Okay. You can also allow them to change their answer or edit their answer once they've submitted it, if you want them to. Okay. So I'm going to just go ahead and create this really quick, and then I want to show you what it looks like from the kid perspective. Okay, so as the teacher, I just pushed the question out to the kids, and now you guys, I'm going to swipe on over and I'm going to be Cameron. Okay, so I'm going to go in and be a student. And I'm going to take a look at what I've got here. Okay, we'll look at these as other examples in a few minutes, but let's hop in and let him look at this question. One thing I will note for you guys is whenever I'm teaching students and I'm taking the time to actually talk about how to navigate, how to move around and work within Google Classroom, I always really strongly suggest that they click where it says view question or view assignment. Okay. The reason for that is this. Otherwise, what I found with my kids is that they'll do this kind of a number and they'll just click on it and it kind of opens up this little preview. And then a lot of times they'll click right here and they'll just start going in and doing the work. But if they go in and click view assignment, it opens up this whole environment. Okay. It's now Google Classroom is full screen on their Chromebook or on their computer. Okay. And over on the right-hand side, they're going to see the Google Doc that I created for them, for the kids, okay? But they're also going to see that add or create button right there. And then they're going to see a very important button right below, and that's the turn in button. So I hear from teachers a lot like, hey, how can we get kids to turn in their work? A lot of times they do it, but they never click turn in. And then in my Google Classroom, like gradebook or world as the teacher, it doesn't look like they've got it done, you know? So this is all part of teaching them to utilize this environment. So let me kind of hop back real quick and just talk about this question for a second and show you what it looks like. So I'm going to choose view question right here. And now, once again, we get a whole screen that is devoted to this question, okay? And here's how I teach it to kids. I tell them to go ahead and look right here at the question. And then if there are any instructions for answering the question, that'll be right below it. And then I tell them to come down to where it says your answer. And I tell them if they can see the little eyeball, and if they rest their mouse on the little like eyeball icon, you'll notice a box pops up that says classmates will see your answer. So I explain to them, hey, listen, guys, when we're doing this, sometimes it's going to be a private answer and sometimes it's going to be more of a public answer. So it's important for them to know the difference and talk about, you know, what's appropriate in either environment. Okay. And then, you know, let's say Cam's going to go in and give his answer. I think that the farmer Fern's dad will kill the pig. Okay, so that's what he thinks is going to happen next in the story. And then he can go and choose where it says turn in right here. Okay, so this is Cameron doing his work. All right, now there's a couple of different things to notice here. To begin with, at the bottom, there's something called class comments. You guys, class comments is a feature of Google Classroom that can be turned on and off by teachers, okay? So if you want kids to be able to comment to one another in here and say something like, I really liked this chapter, okay? You can. Now this is different from the answer to the question. This is also part of just being able to comment in general, okay? So this is a communication thing, and could be a way to give feedback back and forth, but some teachers might find this frustrating, okay? So for example, I'm still Cameron, like I'm still in his cam, and look, I can announce something to my class. So I can say, I think that Jack is a poo head, okay? So we can do something a little bit inappropriate here just to make a point. I'm gonna hit post. So now, kids can see, everybody in the class can see this, okay? So be aware that these class comments, while they're a communication tool, they require scaffolding. They require teachers to take the time to have lessons and discussions about what's appropriate, what's not. Otherwise, it can be really frustrating when you as a teacher, let me slide back over and be a teacher, come into your Google Classroom and you see that Cameron has made, you know, an inappropriate choice about what's okay to have shared in this environment. So a couple things you can do here. First of all, you can go over to this 3-dot menu next to his comment, and you can delete it. Absolutely get rid of it. Okay. You can also mute him, which means that if by and far the rest of your kids are doing a great job with this, they're using it as a wonderful communication tool, you're able to have conversations with them in here. Maybe if you're teaching 5th and 6th grade, you're even, you know, getting them used to this environment of being able to chat online, because we know that they're going to go and do that in social environments, you know, online. So maybe you're using it as a learning tool, but it's only Cameron who's making choices that are inappropriate. So if that were the case, we could mute him. Now, if we mute him, and this is the reason I'm kind of talking about this, I can go ahead and also delete his post so that otherwise other kids can't see it. When I mute Cam, okay, other kids can still make comments, And Cameron can still make private comments just to you in an assignment, or just to the teacher in an assignment. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. So at this point, if I come back over and I go back to classwork and I were to go back into this question, okay, if you notice, Cameron's comment is still here because I didn't delete this one, but his ability to make any more class comments is gone, okay? He can't do it here, and he can't do it out here, okay, just because I muted him. So be aware of that, all right? Now, let's go back over and go into me as the teacher again and take a look at what it looks like when I'm looking at the kids' responses in a question, okay? So we've got one that's turned in. Obviously, he's the only kid in my class, but you guys, if you do a question, this is how all of the responses come in. Okay, let me show you a picture of what it looks like with more than one student. Okay, this is actually a picture from a workshop I did a couple years ago, and it looks like this. Okay, so you've got kids' names right here, you've got their dates, and then you've got their comments, and it puts everything in one spot. So it's a great place for you to be able to just eyeball real quick without having to flip through different Google Docs or different Google slideshows or whatever work you're giving kids. It's all in one spot, and you can easily be able to just see their answers. You can also reply to them. So when we start to look at feedback, okay, look at what I can do. So I can hit reply to Cameron. All right, so I'll go ahead and do that. And then I can say, this is a great prediction, Cam. Why do you think that Wilbur is in danger? Okay. And I could, send this to him. Now let's take a look and see what he sees. Let me slide back over and be Cameron. Come on back to classwork, okay? And then what I see here is this, okay? And when I see that as Cam, I know then that I can come in here to view question, and I have a response here, okay? So I could click here where it says see classmates' answers. And this is where I'd be able to go in and see all of my classmates' answers, because that's how the teacher set up this activity. And I can also click where it says one reply, and I can see replies. Okay, so when we look at being able to start to have some kinds of feedback cycles and asynchronous conversations, this is a way to do it. Okay, it's nice because it is time stamped, and it will actually put the day in there as well. Like tomorrow, that would say Thursday at 2:42, or actually 3:42 for you guys. Okay, so be aware that, questions in Google Classroom are a wonderful tool, and they are definitely something that you can, go back and forth with kids on. Okay, and they can do it with each other as well if you want them to. Okay. So you guys, I think I've got a couple folks that joined us since I started talking. Welcome if you're here. I am recording, okay? So if you missed the first few minutes, you can always go back and watch the recording later. We are diving into Google Classroom today in this hour-long session. We are going from 3:30 to 4:30, and we're looking at kind of feedback and communication and supporting students with like this, this idea of monitoring their progress and targeted timely feedback in Google Classroom. Okay, so hopping into the next section is quizzes, and I actually yeah, and I'm going to talk more about this in a few minutes, but just as an overall, so we've talked about like regular assignments, and then we talked about questions. Also, quizzes in Google Classroom have some opportunities for feedback in there. Okay, and we're going to look at that soon too. With quizzes, you can they're a Google form. You can set up the form to grade it for you if you want it to, like if you're doing multiple choice. This session really isn't totally focused on Google Forms, but actually, guys, the next session is, and I think that's like November 18th, if I recall correctly, and I'll double check before the end of our session, but it's really based on forms and like how to create a form and start to finish, kind of really making sure folks understand it. But just as a part of Google Classroom, it's important to mention that forms give us a lot of options for giving some feedback, and we're going to look at some of that in just a few minutes. Okay. But what I wanted to look at now is this idea of the to-do area. So when we're like looking at helping kids be organized and being able to just get a sense of, what they still need to do in their work. Let me exit out of that real quick and we'll hop over in BCam. Okay. If Cameron comes just to his like stream area, this like main page of Google Classroom, okay, he can see, he can get here a couple different ways. One, he can come down to this spot right here where it says upcoming, and he can see that he's got work that is going to be due by 3 o'clock tomorrow. If he chooses view all, it takes him into a place called the to-do area. Okay, you guys, the to-do area can also be found if we go up to the top left to these 3 lines. There's a little to-do button right here too. Okay, so let me show you that again, right here. Okay, and the to-do area is going to be like a to-do list. And it can be broken down by class, or in this case, you can see it's got all of his classes. So this is a drop-down menu. He can click here and say, I just want to look at this class. Now, if you're a 3rd grade teacher, you may be thinking, Avra, my kid only has 1 class. My kids only have 1 class, right? Absolutely. But if you are working with 5th or 6th grade, 5th or 6th graders, you may have teachers that are using more than 1 Google Classroom. Maybe a 5th grade teacher has like a math classroom set up or an ELA classroom set up or something like that. So that's why it's important to mention this. But if he chooses just his class, okay, he can see kind of what's coming up. So this is going to be another way to be able to start to show students kind of how they can see the work that's going to be due. They can see when it's going to be due. And the nice thing here is that the to-do list is like, well, I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but he can click on it and it's boom, going to take him right into the work. So it's like a to-do list that it's like automated, almost not automated, but it's electronic. He can click on it and it's going to take him right into that assignment then. Okay. So he can come in and he can do some work in, on his journal entry or something like that. Okay. So let me come back now to just the classroom, and let's go in and take a look at what it looks like when Cameron wants to ask his teacher a question about some work that he's doing. Okay, so let's go into this creative writing essay. All right, and I'm not gonna be a typical kid who clicks right here. I'm gonna click right here where it says view assignment. All right, and then over here, Cam can click right here, and this is gonna be his place where he's gonna be able to write his creative writing essay. Okay, now you guys, I'm gonna do a quick little cheat here and do a quick copy and paste just so we save some time. Okay, and I'm going to pretend that I'm Cam and I got my work done. Okay, so I'm going to close out of this now, and I'm going to close out of this. Now, here's one thing, and you guys probably know this already, but we've got to remind our kids, he did the work, right? He wrote his essay, but in order for me to know, me as the teacher, to know that he's turned it in or that he's done, he needs to turn it in right here. Okay. So when he does that, he's going to get this little pop-up box that says, hey, 1 attachment will be submitted, and he's going to have to confirm it by choosing turn in 1 more time. Okay. So now as the teacher, let me slide back over. Okay. I can come in back to my class, and I'm going to go to my classwork section here. Okay, and I'm going to be able to come down to my creative writing essays, and I can see that Cameron has turned it in, or that one person has turned it in. If I choose view assignment, it takes me into my environment where I'd see all my kids on the left-hand side, and I could see Cameron's work right here. Okay, so from here, I can click and I can open up Cam's assignment. So now you guys, I was over here in Google Classroom. Google Classroom opened up another tab for me, and this is like the Google Classroom viewer, like the assignment viewer, if you will. Okay, and if I had more than 1 student in here, do you see where Cameron's name is right up here on the left? I could drop down this menu and it would give me a whole list of all of my students. Okay, I could also use these little arrows right here to navigate back and forth between the different essays. Okay, this is just kind of a poor example because I only have 1 student, but I hope you understand. Now, the feedback area is right here. Okay, so this is where we're going to go ahead and be able to give kids, some feedback. I can give him a grade here if I wanted to, but more importantly, I can give him some private comments. So I can say, great start Cameron, be sure to check the comments in the document. Okay, so there's two different kinds of comments here. One is comments that I can make over here in his Google Doc. So I could come over and say, you know, hey, I think right here you need some quotes. So I could highlight this section of text right here. I could use this button and add a comment. Let me slide on over and say, don't forget your quotation marks. Okay, and I could hit comment. And I could say something like, Jack has a great heart, da 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 da. And I could say, this sentence is a run on, please check punctuation, right? So I can give kids comments and feedback in two different ways here. One is in the Google Doc itself, okay, right here in the Google Classroom Viewer, and or right over here in the private comments. So let's hit post on this, okay? Let me show you one thing actually first. Let me slide over and be Cam for a second, okay? If as Cameron, I come in here and I go in and look at my document right now, okay, I can't edit it because I've turned it into the teacher, okay? I can see that my teacher's in here, but I can't do any editing with it. And I can't see these comments, okay, because I'm not an editor of the document and I don't have like commenting, the access to even view the comments. So it's really important that you remember to return the assignment to the students. And you also want to post right here that private comment. Now, before I hit return, let me come back over one more time here and just show you.
Yeah, excuse me, would you mind just repeating that one again?
Yeah,
please?
absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said something. So for sure. So here's the thing. I've given him some comments here in the Google Doc, okay, but I haven't returned this to him yet, okay? So there's this button called return up here in the top right. And until I hit return, when he comes over and he clicks on his assignment, like, so let me back up. Let's say that I gave him this private comment. Great start, Cameron. Be sure to check the comments in the Google Doc, okay? And he reads that because I posted that for him. He goes into his Google Doc and he goes, I don't see any comments. There's no comments here, okay? It's because I haven't returned it to him yet. So he can see that I'm in here, but he can't see my comments. So what happens when kids turn in a Google Doc to teachers, the teacher owns the document, okay? And the kid can't do anything more with it. So it can be a good thing. Like, it's like, hey, you know, you turned it in by 3 o'clock, now you're done. Like, you're done until I grade it or something, you know? But if I hit return now, so up here in the top right corner, I'm gonna hit this return button and it's gonna say, okay, are you sure, you know, return this to him? Yes, I wanna return it. Now we're gonna go over and look and see what he sees. Close out of this, okay? So now let me do a quick refresh on his screen. And when he comes back now, he can read this here, and then he's gonna come and click here. And now this is his document again, okay? And he's got all of his editing tools are back. And he's also got these 2 comments from me, okay? So he's able to see the comments now that the teacher's turned the document back to him, returned it to him. So he can talk, go ahead, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, just like you had a refresh, because I've had kids and they don't see my comments and I don't know why. Do you think that might be part of it? Is like hit refresh, hit refresh, hit refresh?
Yeah, because if Wi-Fi is lagging at all, you know, because I'm flip-flopping back and forth between these
right, yeah,
pretty quickly. So, you know, if it's something where you wrote the comment half an hour ago, they should definitely be able to see it, but it might be that they just make sure, ask them if they can see all this stuff up here, because these are all the editing tools. And if they can't see the editing tools, then that means that the document is still owned by you, the teacher, and they can't see any of that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so glad you asked. So you guys, we can give feedback in 2 different ways now. Okay. One, or not give feedback. As Cameron, I can respond to my teacher, okay, in a couple different ways. I could click here on my, you know, on the don't forget your quotation marks, and I could say, what? I don't get it. Okay, which is completely what Cameron would say. I could hit reply, okay, and he can write back, or he can say, Okay, I fixed this. Okay, so then he could come in here and let's say that he fixes this. Check, has a great heart. Period. He shows it, feel like crying when Sky died, comma, and he won. Okay, there we go. So then he could say fixed it. That's one way of him to be able to like communicate back with the teacher. It could be in the Google Doc itself, or he could go in Google Classroom and he could write her back in here. Okay. Thanks, I made changes. Okay. So he can write in here and then he has to hit this little post button and he can write back. Okay. So now let me slide over and be the teacher and you can see what Cameron sees, or I'm sorry, you can see what I see as the teacher. Okay. So to begin with, hold on, I think I maybe need to do a refresh as well here. All right, yeah. So now over here, I can see these comments, okay? And I can also see his comment down here, all right? So that's a feedback cycle kind of, you know, where we can go back and forth. Now, what he hasn't done though, is he hasn't turned it back in to the teacher, okay? So if the teacher requires it at this point, he can close out of his Google Doc and he can come back and he can hit turn in. So this turn in process can go back and forth as many times as needed, you know, especially during, you know, a writing cycle, right? So now you guys, once he's turned it in, this is where, once again, look at what he, wow, that didn't work. Well, yeah, okay. It's my Wi-Fi again, not catching up. Okay. I was going to say he shouldn't have any editing access anymore and he doesn't. Okay. So look up here, like we don't have any fonts. We don't have any bold or italics, like all those tools are gone. And then back over here, you know, the teacher can do things in here. Now, what I want you to know is that up here in the top right, okay, there's a see history. And if you click on this see history, look at what you're going to get. This is like the submission history for the document. So initially assigned at 2:15 to him, turned in at 2:53. Okay. And then he turned it into me. And then I reassigned it to him at 2:58 when I returned it to him. Okay. This actually should have more than that. Let me hit refresh and see if we can get more, because I think there should be 2 more entries or 1 more entry at least. Okay. So then he turned it back in again at 3:01. So just be aware that, like, if you have a kid turn something in, they can unsubmit it as well. Okay, if they go, oh shoot, no, I need to fix one more thing, they can unsubmit it. So but you can always see if what time they turn it in, what time they unsubmit it, or what time you turn it back to them and you kind of reassign it to them. You know, you can see all of that and you can kind of see that progression. All right. All right. Questions, thoughts, anybody wondering anything right now before I kind of jump in and keep going with other stuff?
Sure, I have a quick question. So you do this entire, like, so I am an elementary school teacher, and having students using this, you have to show them a lot more. I mean, some of the kids pick up right away and know that they can say, I fixed it, but a lot of kids don't, like, they don't know to even say that to you.
That's right.
So you have to teach them that they can respond on a private comment right back to me.
Yeah, you know, and I think you make such a good point. It's so true. And I do. I think that when we teach the kids, like this, to me, this world, this Google Classroom environment is a tool, just like a pencil's a tool. So when I taught kindergarten, you know, I taught them how to hold their pencil right. This is the same idea. And if we do take the time to kind of build this into our lessons and start to have these conversations with them, it'll empower them. It'll help them understand, like, hey, you can ask me a question in here and I'll get back to you. But yeah, it takes being deliberate and intentional about it, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. All right, you guys, I want to be able to get to a couple other things, so I'm just going to pop here. Okay, so I just want you to know what slides are in here. Okay, so there's a to review area for teachers. It's the same as like to do, but it's to review. So you can always get in here and take a look at what everything is that you need to do. Okay, so when I'm in Google Classroom, if I come over to my 3-line menu here, It's right here to review. So this is where you're going to see all the stuff that needs to be graded and things like that. Okay. So that I just wanted to kind of throw that in there to make sure y'all knew about that. And then this is what I was just showing you. So just be aware, I'm going to give you these slides. Be aware that this is in here for you. Okay. And that that way you kind of come back and reference it. One other thing to know is that if you have your notifications turned on for private comments, you'll get an email when kids do a private comment to you. So it's up to you whether you want that turned on or not. You may be thinking to yourself, I don't want emails all the time. Or you may think, oh my gosh, if a kid private comments me in Google Classroom and wants to ask for help, I want to know about it without having to go in and check Google Classroom every 5 minutes. So you can set it up where, you know, that's a possibility too. So just so you know, to get to notifications, you also want to go to these 3 lines over here in the top left. Okay. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. You guys won't have nearly as many classes as I do because I have way too many because this is what I do for a living. But if I come down to settings at the very bottom of this menu on the left, this is where then you can see the different things. So classes that you teach, you know, you can see when kids, you know, late submissions of work, when they resubmit work, comments on your posts, private comments on work, like all of that can be turned on or off. Okay. So be aware of that in case you want that turned on for yourself. And then guys, this is what I already showed you, but there's a slide about it just so you know. Okay. So kids, you know, you ask a question, kids write the answer, and then you can write back to them. Okay. I don't want to spend a lot of time on rubrics, although you can feel free to ask questions if you want. I want to be able to get to where we can talk about utilizing audio, because I think there's a lot of power in that, especially when we're doing feedback. But I want you to know that in Google Classroom, when you create an assignment, at the very bottom here, you know, so this is where like you can give it points and you can give it a due date. At the bottom, there's a rubric spot, okay, where you can create a rubric, or you could reuse a rubric, or you could import a rubric. And when you do that, this is kind of what it looks like, okay? So you could build out a whole rubric if you were going to just, you know, have an ongoing assignment that was like a journal entry or an essay or, you know, anything you might use a rubric for. You can build out your criteria. Okay. So each criterion can have a title, and then you can have a description. So like spelling, you know, spelling in the writing assignment, and then you can give it point levels, or you can give the level a title like 4, 3, 2, 1, or best, good, average, poor, or something like that. You can give it a description, you know, so here we have perfect or minor errors or multiple errors or numerous errors. You guys can build all this out. Okay. And this is building it right here in Google Classroom. And then what'll happen is when you go to do your grading, instead of just having a spot to put a number value here, like 40 out of 40, it's actually going to let you choose what you put for each section. So spelling, creativity, whatever. So, you know, say we give them an 8 out of 10 for spelling, you give them a 6 out of 10 for creativity, it's going to add up. And then this is what kids would see when they go to get your feedback. Then they're going to see the rubric, and they're going to see the different criteria. Okay. And then they're going to see what, you know, what they got on it, if you will. Okay. So, so rubrics are, you know, they take a while to build at first, but there's 2 different ways to build them. One is the way I just showed you kind of in Google Classroom. Okay. So really quickly, well, let me come in and just start to make a sample one. I'm not going to take the time to completely build it out here. Let's see if it'll let me do this now. I may need to make a new assignment. Okay, hold on, classwork, create assignment. All right, you come down, let's call this sample. We're going to come down and we're going to choose rubric right here, and we're going to choose create rubric. And this is where then you'd be able to go in and put all this in. So you'd have a criteria. Question? I'm just going to do a quick mute all, guys, because we have just a little bit of background noise. Okay, so you could do spelling here. You could add another criterion down here. Okay, so this would be like where creativity might go. Maybe you do grammar, you know, so on and so forth. So you can build it all in here. And then these would be your different levels. Okay, so you can build by clicking here, you know, so you might have, you know, 3, 2, 1 or something like that. That's one way of building it. Okay, and I'm just going to discard this. The other way of building it is, and I remember I'm giving you these slides, you can click right here in the slides, and open up this spreadsheet. And it's what it's going to do. It's going to allow you to make a copy of the spreadsheet, and then you can build it out in here instead. Okay, so you could give, you could type some things in and fill out these boxes. And then after you build it, you can make a copy and you give it a better name and maybe put all your rubrics in a certain folder or something like that. Excuse me. And then when you do the plus rubric, you could choose import from sheets instead. Okay, so there's kind of two different ways to build the rubric. So like I said, I don't want to spend a ton of time because I'm not sure that everybody's going to take the time to build out those rubrics, especially for little guys, but I wanted you to be aware that it's there and it's available for you. Okay. Guys, I'm going to skip my Google Form stuff and then come back to it at the end, because I want to make sure, I want to kind of pop down to audio and video and make sure to get to this part because it was in the description of this session. So there might be folks that are here kind of really wanting to hear about this. Okay. With the idea too, that our next session later this month is on Google Forms. So we'll be able to cover all that then as well. So let's talk about, just for a second, let's talk about this idea of using audio and video. Okay. The first one is audio, and there's this program called Mote. Okay. It's a Google Chrome extension, and its icon is a purple circle with an M. Okay. So if you follow my mouse down to the bottom right of my screen here, this is what it looks like. Wherever you see that, you can utilize it to record your voice. Now, it's one of those programs that's got a paywall. Okay. So you can record for up to 30 seconds for free. And after that, they want you to pay. However, having been an elementary teacher for most of my life, I will tell you that 3 30-second recordings are going to be listened to and digested and comprehended a lot better than one 90-second recording. Okay. If you're expecting your kids to listen to you and understand and learn from what you're saying, it's better to be short and sweet. Okay. So let me just show you like what Mote does. Mote works in slides. You can click right here and it opens up this little box. Normally this little guy right here is purple. Okay. But right now, because we're in the middle of fall holidays, we've got a little pumpkin, but normally this is going to be a purple circle with the M in it. You click, you record your voice. And you can read what's on your slides. You can give kids directions. You can say anything you want. And then we click the little button. And now I hit insert. You guys, what it's doing right now, it's taking my audio recording and it's storing it in my Google Drive as we speak, like automatically. I'm not doing anything. Like here's my hands right now. Mote is doing its magic right now. Okay. So this works in Google Slides. It also works in Google Docs in the comments. So I'm going to let this go for a second here, and I'm going to hop over and I'm going to pretend that I'm giving a student some feedback. Okay, let's pretend this is Cameron's run-on sentence. I'm going to come over to this comment right here. And you guys, you saw me before type in this box, but look, I've got this Mote button here. Hey, Cameron, you have done such a great job getting this essay started. I'm so excited for you. So listen, I want you to check this sentence that I have highlighted because it's one of those tricky run-on sentences. Remember, you want to put that comma before the conjunction, before the word but to make your conjunction. Let me know if you have any questions. So you can record for up to 30 seconds and give him something, okay? And then you guys, if I hit comment right here, watch what happens. Now, this beautiful little player appears, okay? And if we really were in Cameron's document, I don't think this is Cameron's document, so I can't actually make it work, but he can hit play. Hey, Cameron, you have done such a great job getting this. He can listen to it over and over again. He can rewind it, okay? Hey, Cameron, you have, and he can hear you talking, all right? So that's one place that we can use Mote. Let me come back over. Question, Jude?
Can you use Mote like in your Google slideshow right now that you're doing?
Yeah, it just for some reason didn't work really quick. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you can use Mote in Google Slides. You can use Mote in Google Forms. You can use Mote in Google Classroom. I'll show you that in just a second. In Docs, it only works in the comments, but in Slides, I'm just kind of waiting for it to do its thing. Of course, it's being sassy right now when I want to show it, but it will show up in here. It'll be a little circle. Kids can click on it. Anybody can click on it and they can hear. And so you can absolutely record, and you can put more than one audio clip on a slide as well.
Is this an application you would have to download, or is it automatically embedded in these programs?
It's what you need to do. Sorry, this for some reason is not working, but it's a Google Chrome extension.
Okay.
So then it's one of those that you'd want to go to the Chrome web store and hold
Yeah.
on.
Oh, I know how to do it. Our district has a lot of limitations on being able to do that. So that's why I wanted to check. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But I want to throw it into the chat for all of you as well anyway, because I should have put this in the slides. But just one thing to know about it, over the summer, they became a partner with Google, and their COPA and FERPA and all of that. So it doesn't, a lot of times I run into that too with districts all the time, but a lot of folks are saying okay to it because they did become a Google partner. So that's, they're working real hard to make sure that they integrate really, maintaining student privacy and all of that really easily with schools. So you guys, you have to take my word for it. Right now, I don't know if I just need to refresh my slides. Let me try that and try it one more time. But typically you record an audio an audio recording. It goes right into slides. It works beautifully, except, when you're doing a webinar for, 5 or 6 people that you've never met before, then it wants to be troublesome. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. Maybe it'll be happier now. It worked when I was in slide or in docs, so I don't know why it's not working in here. There it goes. That's what it's supposed to do. All right. So patience is what we want. So right here, you guys, and then you'd hit play. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2. Okay, and you can have as many of those on a slide. I've had up to 5 or 6. I don't know if there's a limit. I don't think that there is. So it works in slides, you guys. It also works in classroom. So if I was making an assignment, I can click here and I can verbalize the instructions for students and say, hey, boys and girls, so this is going to be a follow-up on the video we were watching yesterday. I want to know 2 things that you learned and 1 thing that you are still confused about. Remember, we want to use full sentences and capital letters, something like that. So then
Can you show us where you clicked again to insert that?
Yeah, so you want to just find, hold on a second, let me make it go away. And that way, hopefully I can show you again. There we go. It's this little thing right here. Okay, so it's going to be that you're going to whenever you see, once you have it installed, whenever you see a purple circle with the little M in it, that's going to be a spot where you can record. Okay, and so just places that you can record, I'll tell you right now. One is in the instructions. Okay, and the other big place in Google Classroom is in giving kids feedback. So if we were to go back into Cameron's creative writing essay, okay, and I were to come in here, over here on the right-hand side, okay, in private comments, Cameron wrote back and said, thanks, I made changes, right? I'm just waiting for it to load. Here is the Mote option. Okay, so down here, bottom right, Cameron, you did such a nice job on this essay. I had such a great time reading it. You also did a really good job when I gave you feedback. You went back and you fixed each of your mistakes, and I'm really proud of you. Something like that. Okay, so now let me zoom back out. You guys, what happens is that when you're done recording, this little circle comes up with the pencil in it, and that's where you could click to Cameron, you did such a nice job on this essay. Okay, if you wanted to, you can listen to it, make sure that you're happy with what you said, and then you're going to hit post, just like you would when you go in and have regular words. Okay, so now let me slide over and be Cam, and let's take a look at what he sees. Okay, I was going to do a refresh, but I didn't have to. So here's the first comment, and that's in writing. Then he wrote me back, and then here's my final comment to him. Cameron, you did such a nice job on this essay. I had such, okay. So he can now write back and say, oh, well, he's not signed in, but if students have it installed, okay, I can quickly sign him in here real quick. I have installed it. You have to have it installed on students' accounts as well. Okay. Alrighty, that should do it. Let's try it now. Thank you so much. I had a good time writing the essay. Okay, so then he can hit that. And then now let's slide back over and be me, be the teacher. All right, and wait for it, wait for it. And it's not coming fast enough, so I'll hit refresh, and we will see Cameron's Mote come up right here. If you see it like this, guys, it just means to give it a minute and be patient, because it's going to turn into this cute little like play, play box here. Now, thank you so much. I had a good time writing the essay. Okay, so kids verbalizing that message back maybe isn't necessarily the focus, but the focus could be, that's an easy way for little guys to ask a question of their teacher without having to know how to spell all the words in their question. And I think we all can agree that when they get to hear our voice giving them feedback or telling them to fix something or something like that, it's going to be more easily comprehended for them than just seeing it in writing. So again, that is the Mote extension. And I'm going to put in the speaker notes just the link to being able to get that Mote extension, because it's worth looking into and seeing if your district can allow it, because it's a fantastic one. So you guys, there are other tools as well. And we're down, I know, to only about 9 minutes now, but I just want to mention one other thing that you could do with student work, okay? And that is use video. And by video, I'm thinking screencast, okay? I'm thinking about using something like Screencastify, which is another Google Chrome extension that allows us to record our screen, or Flipgrid, if you're a Flipgrid user. I would definitely say pick the one that you know the best, pick up, and if you don't know either one, start with Screencastify, because it's just so easy. And use it to give students feedback. So let me show you an example of one. Allie essay feedback. Let's see if we can, I should have put this in the slides, and I will. Here we go. So here is an example of a teacher, it's me, but a fake teacher giving a student some feedback in a video.
All right. Hi there, Allie. This is Ms. Robinson, and I am taking a look at your awesome essay that you've got started here. So this is your rough draft, and I'm going to just kind of review this while I make this screencast for you. What I'm going to do is insert some comments over on the side and give you some suggestions for some changes, but I'm going to do that while I screencast this or record everything I'm doing for you, and that way you can watch it as many times as you need and hopefully be able to understand all of the suggestions that I'm making for you. So to begin with, I want you to know that I think you've done a great job with this rough draft. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the title of your essay here, and I'm going to insert a comment, and I'm going to remind you to remember to center your title and choose a different font size. So remember, we talked about setting our title off from the rest of our text by.
So you get the idea. And I know this is an upper level essay, but anything that even little guys are doing, what if you were to just open up anything that someone's doing? So we could take, Cameron's essay, and instead of giving him individual comments, or while giving him individual comments, we can click this button right here, which is the Screencastify button, okay? And we can choose to record our desktop. And when we do that, as soon as we hit record, everything that is on this screen, okay, now guys, I have 2 monitors going, so I'm choosing the one on the side on the left here. But as soon as I do this, it counts me down 3, 2, 1, and now I'm talking to my student. So what I have found when I do this, I'm just going to stop it for a second, because that way it'll start to process and I can show you what we can do with it. So what I've found when I've done this before is that kids can watch the recording as many times as they want. I had to teach my kids to pause the recording when I would get to like that, hey, increase your font size on your title. So pause the recording, then go over and make your changes in your document, and then come over and keep watching. I found that I got some wonderful parent feedback as well from this, because kids could watch the videos at home, and and they can, then they can see and they can hear the teacher giving some feedback, and they can help and support their student as they make changes, to whatever. And it doesn't just have to be a doc. It could be a slideshow that kids are working on. They could be doing a Google drawing, absolutely anything that they're doing that's digital, any digital activities at all you have to do is bring it up on your screen and hit record, and you guys getting it to your student, right? So how do we take this? Well, what we're going to do is first, where it says untitled right here, this is where we're going to give it a better name. So we're going to say feedback for Allie. Okay. And maybe we'll put the date 11/04. And then you guys, it's really easy. You click right here where it says copy, share link. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to Google Classroom. And let's pretend that, this is some feedback I'm going to give to Cameron. Okay. I could say, Cam, watch this video for more help. Okay. And then I'm going to hit post. Now let's go over and be Cameron. Okay. And there we go. I didn't even have to hit refresh. I can click right here, and here's what's going to happen. And he can hit play. Talking to my student. So what if this was you? What if a kid writes to you and says, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how, I'm confused or something like that. You can record your screen very quickly and easily and write back to them with a quick video that shows them exactly what to do. Right. So,
Can I interrupt one more second? On the Mote,
uh-huh.
Did you say students have to also have it on their computer in order to access it?
Yeah. So it's an extension that, here's what happens. If a student doesn't have the Mote extension installed, it'll still play, but it opens up in a new tab. And, it just doesn't come up. It doesn't look like this. It's not as pretty. It looks more like this. It looks more like the video did just now. So the Mote would look like this. It would say, listen to the Mote, or it would have a little link here. And when they click on it, it would do exactly what Screencastify is doing right now. It would open up in a new tab and you could hear it, but it's just not as integrated, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So you guys, I know we're down to like 3 minutes. So I want to give you time to ask questions. I want you to know also that there are some slides in here that kind of support some of what I've been talking about. Okay. So here's like, if you've never used Screencastify before, some little steps to getting started to install it, and then here's what you want to do. You want to install it, and then you want to use it to record your browser, so on and so forth. So that's Screencastify. Then there's information here on Mote. Okay. There's a link to being able to install the extension. Here's more information about Mote. Okay. This is a video also about how to get Motes into the comment bank. We didn't even get to the comment bank today, but I can show you real quick. There is this thing called a comment bank up here at the top. So like, this is where we're giving feedback. And then right here, this little icon right here is for the comment bank. And what the comment bank is, you guys, is a place where you can type up comments that you want to use over and over again. And then you come over to your comment bank, and if you find yourself retyping, please check to be sure you finished the entire assignment, and you find yourself saying that 17 times, then all you have to do is hit copy. Okay. And then you can come in and boom, paste, right click and paste that comment in, to each, and that way you don't have to retype it for each kid. But you can actually do that with Motes as well, with those audio recordings. So there's some information on how to do that. Okay. So there's more stuff in here, as well as just like some fun stuff that's coming to Google Classroom. And I lost a couple of my slides here at the bottom. That's weird. I will have to put those back in. I don't know where they went. I literally had 3 more slides that were supposed to be there, including a slide that asked for your feedback, and I don't know where it's at. So you guys give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to give you, I want to give you a form. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to stop my screen share and go look for my form. If you guys don't mind just hanging in there with me for 1 more minute, I want to be able to give you. All right, give me 1 second here. I need to go. I don't know what happened to my slides. That's very strange. All right. I'm sure I seem pretty disorganized right now. I'm not usually this organized though. I think I don't know what happened. I just want to give you guys the link to the feedback form. And that way, if you'd like to give us feedback, you can. I'll put that into the chat right now. Does anybody have any questions about just like all the different things that we've covered today? I know it was a lot of information in a short period of time, but I'm happy to answer any questions or show you anything that you'd like to see repeated. Or if anybody has just a thought, something that, you know, resonated with you, and I'll give you the slide deck right now. Tiffany, that's the best question of all. I'm glad you asked it. I got a little thrown when my last couple slides were missing from my slide deck. So there are the slides right there. You can have them. In the slides, guys, on the very first slide is my email address. Okay. And I would welcome you, welcome an email from you anytime. If there's anything I can do to help you, support you. If this went a little too fast for you and you're thinking, oh, I don't know if I can do all that, just send me an email and I'll help you, walk through it. I'm more than happy to support you however I can. Next class is Google Forms, but Flipgrid is somewhere in there. In one of the sessions, I have to think about which session it is, but I'm pretty sure we built Flipgrid somewhere in there. And if you want some just getting started with Flipgrid, just send me an email and I can do a quick screencast for you and show you what to do. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right. If anybody else has any other questions, let me know, you guys. But otherwise, thanks for joining me today and happy Friday Eve. And I hope you have a nice rest of your week and a great weekend. Okay. And all right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.